Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review of Tower of God, Chapter 330, or Season 2, Episode 250, getting up there already. Also, fun fact, I don't like wearing hats, but I've had to wear them a lot lately, just because a lot of times I record right after I take a shower or whatever, and when I get out of the shower, because I tried to record without the hat, and man, my hair was just like all the way out here, like, it is bad, it poofs up a lot when I first get out of the shower. Yeah, also, for the live reaction, sorry if the audio was quiet. I put something, I'm bringing it up because I saw somebody comment something, but I brought it up in the description, and I said it on Twitter when I was editing as well, because I started editing, and I was like, this is really quiet, why is it this quiet? And I still don't know why it was that quiet. I felt like I spoke at a pretty even tone of voice, about the same as I would speak in a typical video, maybe? I don't know. But I felt like I spoke normally, and then when I went to edit it, it was like really quiet, and I tried some things like turning just the main volume up, but all that did was bring everything up, including the background noise, and then it sounded even worse, so I was like, it's just gonna be how it is. This isn't fixing. I mean, because you can still hear me pretty clearly or whatever, it's just there's a little bit of background noise, and it's quiet for some unknowable reason. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was how I was sitting. I don't know. Maybe my mic wasn't in the right place. No clue. But yeah, either way, I have talked for a minute and a half about complete bullshit that you may not even care about. So let's talk about the actual chapter. And I thought that it was very, very good. Again, you could say it was kind of a setup chapter. I mean, you even said it was kind of a setup chapter, but I thought as a chapter itself it was good. I didn't really think it was even that much of a setup chapter, really, at first. When I first read it, I was like, man, that was a good chapter. And then I read the blog, and she was like, yeah, blah, 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 Yurik's here. It's kind of whatever. I didn't really feel great about this one. And I'm like, okay, well, I felt better about it than the actual manhwaka? What would you even... manhwa artist. Whatever. So yeah, either way, let's talk about it part by part, go through it at least, before I get into that sort of stuff. So at first Joe recognizes Haku, of course, reasonable. Yuri rushes in with Black March, but stands no chance against Joe, obviously so. But Joe does think to himself, he's like, you know, if she came at me with that ghost spirit's power or whatever, and came at me with all those other people with her, they might actually be a threat to me. Haku says, oh crap, we stand no chance. And when he says it, you know, you kind of gotta be like, okay then, he saw the future, they really don't stand a chance, go try something different. Try his original plan that you're trying. So Yuri, Garam, and Kronka go in with attacks and they do nothing. Especially Kronka's really cool ice castle attack thingy. It does nothing. It was one of those attacks that, you know, occasionally when you see an attack or a character design where you're like, they're so needlessly cool that they're almost not cool anymore. Like if a character just has this crazy armor that's just so big and shiny that you're like, okay, it's too much. It's beyond the point of being cool because you've gone too far. That's kind of how the ice attack was. It was like almost a bit too cool to be cool, because we haven't really got any development for Kronka. We don't even know anything about him other than he's like Garam's henchman. But either way, moving along, we find out that Joe's body is boiling hot. Don't know if that'll be important later or not, but since he brought it up, I figured it was worth mentioning, because it may come into play later. He uses an ability called Zero Area, which creates an area with no Shinsu. Well, with no Shinsu, but no controllable Shinsu, at least. He lowers it enough that it's not really controllable, so everybody just starts falling out of the sky since they can't stand on it congealed anymore. Except for Bomb, of course, because Bomb's an irregular. Everybody's saying, oh, it's because of the thorn. The thorn probably has something to do with it, but I'd say no, it's because he's an irregular. I think that's the big deciding factor with this, more than the thorn, is that he's a freaking irregular. But yeah, it was actually a cool move. I find it really interesting that I'm like, that makes him even more powerful that he can just say, no Shinsu for you, and turn that shit off. So then Yuri notes that Joe and his ability and way of fighting, that he's like a guardian slash administrator, whichever translation you prefer. Then Bomb sort of stands there using Shinsu to reveal that he has the thorn and everything and serve as bait. So then Joe, Sanchez, and Charlotte give chase, and Sanchez, we get a little bit of character development where he's like, I believe in Joe as a leader, and Sanchez really isn't that important of a character, so it's kind of just like, whatever. It's kind of not even as much development for him, but more development for Joe, knowing that Joe has actually got people that see him as a good guy, that see him as he's the right guy to do this. He's the leader. He can save them, which is, again, important. Then we actually have a pretty funny scene with Mata uses Sanchez's attack and just dodges downwards, and the attack hits Joe in order to serve as a distraction so they can escape. And that was a really funny sequence just because of Joe and Sanchez's reactions to hitting each other. Then Joe uses Blood Flood, which is interesting, again using the holes, using his ability to control them in order to just flood the place with blood, which, as we know, is like super, super high concentration Shinsu, so high concentration that people can't even really use it. They have that go through, the blood washes, or it doesn't really wash them out, they escape before it hits them, but you kind of get the point there. And the place that they are chased out into doesn't have enough Shinsu for them to use either, it would seem, because Yuri says, oh well, no Shinsu, kicks off the shoes, goes for a physical attack, which I thought was really cool, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then bam, the really cool gets, I don't know if it would be even better, but it turns into another very funny sequence with Sanchez actually finally hitting an attack and just knocking her out of the sky. The panel for that was really funny. The panel of Bomb catching her was really funny. And it's like, it was poorly drawn for comedic effect, and it's almost like, I prefer it that way, because if it was really, like, drawn really seriously and stuff, I don't think it would have been as good, because I think the comedy was a big part of what made it good here. So that was all good. Heljo starts charging an attack before we cut away to Garam, Kranka, and Evan in the tunnel to the North City. Yurik is hiding there, and he's scared that Garam, and we finally get the reason why he's trying to hide that he's there from Garam, and it's a season that I probably should have just inferred, because it makes complete sense that he's like, I gave Heljo the Red Thrissa. All the problems here are kind of my fault for giving Heljo the Red Thrissa, and I'm in love with this chick that lives here, and her home has been kind of taken over by this tyrannical dictator, and it's kind of my fault, so maybe I should not let her know that it's my fault that this is all going on. So I think it's funny, and it adds more into Yurik, as in, I thought I was doing a good guy thing, but I kind of screwed up here. I kind of screwed up. Please don't hate me. Then we find out in the past that he met her on the floor of death on his first time there, and he kept trying to get her to love him until he was finally banned from the place. So we find out that after that he one-sidedly hit on a bunch of other girls, but he says that Garam's the only girl for him, though of course I don't know whether it was Wangnan or Yura, but one of them pointed out, well, it's kind of one-sided either way, you're just hitting on them. So yeah, he came here with the thought in mind that, okay, he needs to kill Heljo without her, or defeat Heljo without her knowing about it. Because if she finds out that he's here, that's not that great, but if she finds out that it's his fault, then it's really, really not very good. So then Garam says, okay, I'll forgive everything because Akni told her to. And Yurik goes into full hero mode, runs in to stop Heljo's blast, just punches it away. And I can't tell if somebody said it looks like he maybe just punched it away without using Shinsu, and it looks like that's a possibility, but it also maybe looks like there was some white Shinsu in there, and it makes sense because even he and Bomb, oh yeah, we saw Bomb using Shinsu, he and Bomb should still be able to use Shinsu because they're irregulars. At least that's the way I would view it. But that's where we end, him being like, yeah, I'm here, Heljo, time to work out our deal. So yeah, blog info. One of the first things in the blog was, and I quote from CU saying, blah, this chapter was pretty much blah blah blah, Urik's here. And he also mentioned like he didn't know about some of the stuff in the middle or about his pacing. And he was just really unsure about a lot of the stuff here, but I thought it was good. I don't see the reason to be unsure. I thought it was good this week. He also said that there's going to be more relationship story in the future with Karam and Yurik. Not necessarily meaning they're getting together, but more info on their relationship, and also more relationship stuff for Bam and Rachel, but maybe not this arc, because that's more of a long-term character thing rather than an arc thing. Then he gives us, and I think this one thing that he tells us in the blog is more important than anything in the chapter, really. He tells us that Haku doesn't really see the future. And I saw a bunch of people in the comments on the line page and everything saying that was super important. People need to read the blog this week because, yeah, he says that Haku doesn't really see the future. He's just led to a certain future. And that makes everything that didn't make sense make sense. Because before, remember, and it was one thing that I was critical of, and I was like, CU needs to find his way to explain this because Haku saw a vision of the girl getting killed. He did something to try to stop it, and it happened anyway. And it happened because of him, in fact. So I was like, if that's the case, then his vision doesn't, him acting on his visions doesn't change the future. Well, this makes it so that all makes sense. Him acting on his vision is what makes the future. If he did nothing, that future wouldn't happen. Like, again, using the example of that girl, if he would have saw her dying and didn't move, didn't do anything, didn't act on that, it wouldn't have happened. But he acted on it. He acted on his vision, which caused that future to happen. So his vision led him to that future. And it's the same thing that's happening here. He told them to go there and to say that, because if they don't go there and say that the future he saw isn't even the future. It wouldn't even happen. But if he tells them what to do, then that future happens. It makes it all make sense. He doesn't see the future. He sees a set of circumstances and he's like, guys, if we do this certain thing, then this future will happen. So it makes him a lot more sense, and it makes him kind of makes him like a guide on steroids. I would say that really gives him a place in Bam's team for the rest of the story, but if we had him, then I don't even know what the point of Ryun would be, because Haku would be, like I said, a guide on steroids. He could literally see a future and tell you how to get to that future. So yeah, that might be too OP Haku. Also, yeah, that's just a really important distinction to make, that he's not really seeing the future, he's being led to one. So yeah, as a whole, let me give some thoughts on the chapter. Thought it was a fun chapter. I thought, like I said, the blog is possibly more important than a lot of the stuff in the chapter when it comes to just making the logic of the series out. But one thing that I will praise the most this chapter, and I liked everything, I enjoyed this chapter start to finish, but the one thing I can say that I liked the most were the comedy panels. I thought that they were really good at relieving some of the tension while still keeping things exciting, and a lot of them made sense, they were realistic, and that adds to the comedy of something when it's believable. And beyond that, it fit with the theme of what's going on with Helljoe. Because Helljoe is this really big, bad, serious villain. He's one of the strongest villains, but his personality, his characterization, he's kind of just goofy, funny, does what he wants, says what he wants, and all that. And this sort of comedy style with the serious stuff going on fits with his personality and characterization. And since he's the main antagonist driving the story for the protagonist to react to, the main antagonist for this arc at least, then it makes the flow of things really nice. So yeah, giving it a score, I'd give it 8.5 ice castles out of 10, because it wasn't great. It wasn't like a really bulky, important to the series sort of chapter. It was kind of like you said, just a transitional chapter in order to have Yurik be introduced into what's going on with Helljoe. it was just a chapter to get Yurik there. But yeah, it was still very, very good, very enjoyable. So 8.5 Ice Castles out of 10, sticking with that. If you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of this week's chapter and what you thought of my thoughts on it and all that. Subscribe, I suppose, if you're not already for more Tower of God and more, and follow on Twitter if you want. I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. That is it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.